So many moving parts. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to MVUU. We're very, very happy you're here.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, this is the first time I've used this as a tablet and it's not unlocking. There we go. All right. Happy Mother's Day and welcome to everyone at Mountain Vista. In the beginning, I'm going to invite you all to join me in this call and response blessing. I'll read a part and then you respond with blessing be unto you, and there'll be a slide available. This is a Mother's Day blessing by Reverend Diane Dowgiert. Blessed are the mothers who birthed us, fed us, bathed us, clothed us, worried over us, and nurtured us. Blessed are the married mothers, the single mothers, the divorced mothers, the stepmothers, the foster mothers, and the grandmothers. Blessed are the mothers who are deceased. Blessed are the young mothers, the immigrant mothers, the trans mothers, and the lesbian mothers. Blessed are the mothers who are poor, the mothers who are homeless, the mothers who are incarcerated, and the mothers who've been deported. Blessed are the mothers whose babies and children have died before their time. Blessed are the mothers who gave their babies to be adopted, and the mothers and fathers who adopted them. Blessed are the mothers who balanced the demands of jobs and careers with the demands of raising children. Raising children. I read that wrong. Blessed are the mothers who sacrifice careers in order to raise their children. Blessed are the women who yearn to be mothers but cannot, and the women who choose not to become mothers. Blessed are the men who gladly take on the tasks of mothering. Blessed are the mothers whose children are estranged. Blessed are the mothers who, for all their faults and failures, are doing the very best they can. Blessed are the mothers of the world and all those who mother with love and justice, for they may lead us into peace. Amen. So again, welcome to Mountain Vista. My name is Alex Stuckey. I'll be your pastoral associate today. I want to do a special thanks to Reverend Matthew, who's our new Reverend now, Chris Tackett on the piano, who's our music director, and we have Joel Yellen as well, who will be leading us in song, and I think has a song as well for us as well later. Joel also is the leader of our refreshments, so thank him for that as well. He's the reason you guys have food afterwards. I also want to thank our tech team. We have Lee and Todd leading it, as well as Ann and Chuck and Elizabeth, excuse me. So thank you guys. And of course, our welcoming team led by Peter Bekshgazi. This service is about mothers, of course. So if you have any thoughts about your own mother, please think about that. This is what this is all about. If you have any sort of thoughts about your own mother, whether they're here with you or whether they are not with you, whether they've meant a lot to you or not, this is a time to reflect on that. Good things, bad things, it doesn't really matter either way. We're here to support you. Blessings be unto you. Okay, this is the Lanyard by Billy Collins. The other day, I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor. When I found myself in the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard, no cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into the past more suddenly. A past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift from my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard, or wear one, if that's what you did with them. But that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breast. I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cold-faced clothes on my forehead, and then led me into the airy light, and taught me to walk and swim. And I, in turn, presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here is clothing and a good education. And here's your lanyard, I replied. And I made with a little help from a counselor, Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones, and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here I wish to say to her now is a smaller gift, not the worn truth. That you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-tone lanyard from my hand, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing that I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even. Our first song this morning
is I recall my childhood. And the words will be up on the screens. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and allow Joel to lead us. Please rise.
Now I recall my childhood when the sun burst to my bedside with a day's surprise. Faith in the marvelous bloomed anew each dawn, flowers bursting fresh within my heart each day. Then looking on the world with simple joy, on insects, birds, and beasts, and common weeds, the grass and clouds and fullest wreath of all, my mother's voice gave meaning to the stars. Now when I turn to think of coming death, I find life's songs in star songs of the night, in rise of curtains and new morning light, in life reborn in fresh surprise of love.
Every Sunday we return here to who we are becoming individually and who we are becoming as a community. Together we raise up our values, and one of that is the sharing in celebration and in comfort. Our weekly ritual then of our joys and sorrows, it pays particular attention to this awareness and value. Naming joyful happenings that are expanded through our sharing and speaking sorrow-filled events, which invite us to reach out and ask, "How are you?" and respond with a gentle comfort. Representing all of these heights and these depths of our lives are these stones that we place in waters we've collected, not only from Sonoran skies, but from our many travels and our homes. These are the waters of our congregation that we put our joys and our sorrows, we put ourselves in.
Joy for Emily Ricketts, who's celebrating her 89th birthday. Emily is one of our founders and a past president of our congregation. She was born on Mother's Day in 1935. Happy birthday, Emily. Pi Irwin brings the joy of her youngest granddaughter graduating from the University of Michigan last weekend. And John Clark is feeling the joy of the recent publishing of his book, Echoes from a Spiritual Name, a commentary on the Shiva Sutras of Vasugupta. This commentary explores a 9th century Sanskrit text that is the cornerstone of the philosophy and practice known as Kashmir Shaivism. Sorrows center on our gay and trans community and their relatives. One gay person and their trans friend were recent victims of hate crime here in Tucson. Tragically, another out-of-state young trans relative took their life this week. For safety and privacy reasons, these folks and their relatives among us have chosen not to be identified.
Stay here. Stay here. And we breathe this in. Joys, births, birthdays, graduations, milestones in our lives. We breathe into the end of life, sorrow that we are left with, grief knowing that some pain is so great that it is too much for some. I add just a handful for the joys. Joys that we've spoken, but also are here among us without words. Let's celebrate them together. And the sorrows. A handful more than my own hand can contain. Or what we've heard, what we've named, and what we also know is here in every heart. And we hold it together as a congregation, as a faith community, offering one another celebration, comfort. This is who we are as Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalists. This is how we live. And our pastoral care team is very interested in hearing from you, in knowing your joys, your sorrows. With your permission, we would share them, but other times, like you have heard, we withhold pieces of information in order to increase the safety we have as a congregation. But spoken or unspoken, it doesn't stop us from being this community and holding it all: joy, sorrow, celebration, and comfort. May we always live this way today and in all of our days to come. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah. I invite you to a time of contemplation, of considering and pondering gratitude on this day. There are many, many threads that weave into Mother's Day. One of them, in 1870, the Mother's Day Proclamation, authored by Unitarian Julia Ward Howe. Seeking love and justice in response to the Civil War, she called for women of the world to unite. She wrote in part, "We women of one country will be too tender of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs." An abolitionist and a suffragist, Julia Ward Howe is, of course, most famous for her lyrics to the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which was also her response to the Civil War. And she wrote in part, "Let the hero born of woman crush the serpent with his heel, since God is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah." I've specifically selected these two passages, words of a pacifist, words of a hawk of war, not to idealize her or to criticize her harshly, but simply to illustrate mothering is complex. Mothering is complex, and we know it from our own experience, also from being in a congregation. We know that mothering has many facets, expressions that are familiar and consistent with our expectations, but also those different, often dissident to our personal experience. These varied and various parts are braided into a complex whole, and by our awareness of it all, we bless it. We bless motherhood, and we bless with gratitude. Hakarat Hatova is a modern expression of gratitude in Hebrew. It's usually translated to mean awareness of the good, but is meaningful in Judaism, which holds much deeper meanings in it. It contains a personal awareness of the complexity of all existence, acknowledgement of the threads that weave the web of life, the good and the bad, the peaceful and the warlike, the life-giving and the death-dealing. And it invites a thankfulness for all of it. This awareness of the woven whole doesn't discount a part. It doesn't ignore our personal feelings towards the harmonious or the dissident. Instead, it calls upon each to respond with appreciation, thankfulness for the whole, and that invites gratitude to influence your life. Harat Hatova, the awareness of one's relationship with wholeness, is similar to our Unitarian Universalist value that each and every one of us is a part of the interdependent web of all existence. Reverend Galen Gingrich, a UU minister, unpacks our shared value with these words. Everything that exists owes its existence to a complex set of relationships that, if you trace the relationships back all the way out through space and all the way back through time, ultimately involves, well, everything. Everything. That you exist right here and right now is in relationship to everything. And can you breathe in that value now? I mean, how does that feel? An awareness that you exist as a part of everything. Where do you locate that, even in your body? In the way of gratitude, a new spirituality for today, Reverend Galen compares and contrasts the Jewish expression of gratitude with a Muslim one found in the Quran. Those who are grateful do so to the good of their own souls. Those that are grateful do so to the good of their own souls. That is, gratitude for one's existence is a benefit to your soul. And while it is certain that gratitude is good for your body and your mind and your heart, we have studies and stories about this. Islam's gratitude for wholeness directs Muslims to return good into the world through their lives, to act in gratitude. And so despite the differences, Jews and Muslims both give gratitude to a divine wholeness by many names, God or Yahweh or Allah, but it always orients them on living gratefully. Similarly, and of course differently, we are Unitarian Universalists. We recognize the spirit of life, the web of interdependence, with many names and with no name, and we respond with gratitude that also inspires our living. That we come into life, the universe, and everything through the body of a single person means that by many names, mother, mama, ma, they influence our understanding of the existence at the earliest of ages. My mother's voice gave meaning to the stars. As our entry into the wholeness of all relationships, mothers become our first meaning makers, and the mothers and mothering that follows continues to make meaning for us. And like existence itself, each individual mother is woven of many threads, braided into a whole being from many and diverse relationships. In reaction and response, we have our own thoughts and feelings towards them and their lives and their relationship with us. As we contemplate mothers today, as Alex invited us to, I know that there are among us here feelings of joy and happiness, of grief and loss, of regret and remorse, of anxiety and fear, as well as deep affection and love. In short, our mothers teach us about every single quality of genuine human relationships, which we braid into the web of our existence. This is neither to idealize or vilify any of our relationships, but to invite awareness of a great wholeness woven from them all. Today, here, each and every one of us owes our existence to a complex set of relationships, and we can trace that all back to Mother, an individual of complex relationships, all their own, who ultimately involves us in everything. Mother involves us in existence. And how does that feel? In this moment, where would you experience that reality in your body? Reverend Galen defines gratitude as a way of living that understands the meaning of our lives in terms of relationships to the people and the world around us. And he goes on, the practice of gratitude enables us not only to embrace the good experiences of our lives, but also to endure the difficult experiences and seek to transform them. It points away from what is in the present to what is possible. Mother's Day is an opportunity to recognize what is, and then in gratitude, live with what is possible. It is, for Unitarian Universalists, perhaps more tender than any other holiday, because we come aware of complex relationships that we have with our mothers. And yet, rather than praise or condemn these relationships, as a people of faith, we bless them. We bless the best, wonderful, most fulfilling experiences as well as our most difficult ones. We come to this through our awareness that there is complexity in the web of life of which we are a part, among the web of our relationships, and then we choose to respond in gratitude and become a blessing ourselves. For everything that shapes us, that brings us here today, there has been a mother to bear us and to care for us, perhaps to disappoint us, but to love us to the best of their ability. And we cannot repay any of that any more than we can repay the universe for our existence. And thankfully, that's not what gratitude calls us to do. In gratitude, there is simply an awareness of the whole, woven of many parts. In gratitude is a choice to live as a blessing to others. Through war and peace and life and death and heaven and hell of our own existence, we can be a blessing. The braid of relationships, of wholeness through motherhood is what we will be meditating on the rest of this service. We'll be using the Christian practice of lectio divina, the reading and rereading of a passage. And we'll have simple prompts to invite you to a deeper meaning in it. We'll be using Billy Collins' poem, The Lanyard, that you've already heard one time, and we'll invite you to engage it in 3 different ways. And so we've handed out the MVUU notebooks in case you wish to write down your responses or if there are no words to doodle. Listen for what speaks to you about gratitude. Listen for your relationship for your mother. Listen for wholeness, the weaving of existence, and perhaps find a blessing for your living and through you for our world. Now Joel will read the Lanyard, and I invite you to listen for a word or a phrase that speaks to you.
The other day, I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, when I found myself in the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into the past more suddenly, a past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift from my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard or wear one, if that's what you did with them, but that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cold face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out into the airy light and taught me how to walk and swim, and I in turn presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said. Here is clothing and a good education. And here is your lanyard, I replied, which I made with a little help from a counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here, I wish to say to her now, is a smaller gift. Not the worn truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-tone lanyard from my hand, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing that I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even.
You go ahead. Shh, not in this way. Shh. Keep going. She's gonna play the flute. Come here and play the flute.
Hello, Mother. Hello, Father. Here I am at Camp Granada. Camp is very entertaining, and they say we'll have some fun if it stops raining. I went hiking with Joe Spivey. He developed poison ivy. You remember Susie Skinner? She got poisoning last night after dinner. All the counselors hate the waiters, and the lake has alligators. And the head coach wants motivation, so he teaches us transcendental meditation. Now I don't want this should scare ya, but my bunkmate has malaria. You remember Betsy Hardy? We're about to organize a searching party. Take me home, oh mother, father, take me home. I hate Granada, don't leave me out in the forest where I might get eaten by a bear. Take me home, I promise I will not make noise or mess the house with other boys. Oh, please don't make me stay. I've been here one whole day. Dearest father, darling mother, how's my precious little brother? Let me come home if you miss me. I will even let Aunt Bertha hug and kiss me. Wait a minute, it stopped hailing. Kids are swimming, kids are sailing, playing baseball. Gee, that's better. Mother, father, kindly disregard this letter.
Thank you all. And you can go back to we really wanted you to hear Miss Grace. So if you'd follow Miss Stacy, you can all head back. Yep. Chris is going to read the Lanyard again, and this time as a conversation with you. What do you have to say in response to this poem?
I have to say I really appreciate Billy Collins, because I saw that word and my hands immediately felt the plastic craft strips. And it wasn't Adirondack, but it was Upper Appalachians in central Pennsylvania. The other day, I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, when I found myself in the L section of the dictionary, where my eyes fell upon the word Lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into a past more suddenly, a past where I sat at a workbench at a camp by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift for my mother. I had never seen anyone use a lanyard or wear one, if that's what you did with them. But that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cold face cloths on my forehead, then led me out into the airy light and taught me to walk and swim. And I, in turn, presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here is clothing and a good education. And here is your lanyard, I replied, which I made with a little help from a counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered. And here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here I wish to say to her now is a smaller gift, not the worn truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-toed lanyard from my hand, I was as sure as a boy could be that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even.
I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and sing together 2 hymns, Spirit of Life and then Fuente de Amor, different and yet very much the same. Please rise in body or spirit, and Joel will lead us.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí, y al corazón cántale tu compasión. Sopla al volar, suben al mar, hasta modear la justicia de la vida. Arraigame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí.
Please be seated. In our final reading, I invite you to breathe in the poem. and ponder and write if it comes to you. How will you bring this poem into this day? The other day, I was ricocheting slowly off the blue walls of this room, moving as if underwater from typewriter to piano, from bookshelf to an envelope lying on the floor, when I found myself in the L section of the dictionary and my eyes fell upon the word Lanyard. No cookie nibbled by a French novelist could send one into the past more suddenly. A past where I sat at a workbench, at a camp, by a deep Adirondack lake, learning how to braid long, thin plastic strips into a lanyard, a gift for my mother. Now, I had never seen anyone use a lanyard or wear one if that's what you did with them, but that did not keep me from crossing strand over strand again and again until I had made a boxy red and white lanyard for my mother. She gave me life and milk from her breasts, and I gave her a lanyard. She nursed me in many a sick room, lifted spoons of medicine to my lips, laid cold face cloths on my forehead, and then led me out into the daylight and taught me how to walk and swim. And I, in turn, presented her with a lanyard. Here are thousands of meals, she said, and here is clothing and a good education, and here is your lanyard, I said, which I made with a little help from a counselor. Here is a breathing body and a beating heart, strong legs, bones, and teeth, and 2 clear eyes to read the world, she whispered, and here, I said, is the lanyard I made at camp. And here I wish to say to her now a smaller gift, but not the worn truth that you can never repay your mother, but the rueful admission that when she took the 2-tone lanyard from my hand, I was sure, as a boy could be, that this useless, worthless thing I wove out of boredom would be enough to make us even. And so the 4 of us wanted to share with you our own personal reflections on a mother or mothers.
I'm here today because of Diane Sanford, also known as Mother. I was Stucky, but divorces and all that stuff. Even as a child, I knew I was lucky to have such an awesome mother. She was caring, protective, but also a lot of fun too. She was never too serious, only serious when she needed to be. The reason I have my unusual sense of humor is because of her. I won't lie, it can be dark at times, but I'm grateful for that too, even if it's not for everyone. I'm grateful that even during the worst of times I've dealt with, she was there to support me and be there for me, giving me the safe space to recover from my negative lifestyle. I know that if I needed someone to talk to, vent to, or whatever it might be, no matter where I am, she's just a phone call away. It goes both ways too. Trust me, she vents too. She also knows I'm a phone call away too. I definitely need to get my butt back home soon though, because I'm sure she's missing me right now. I am grateful for her mothering.
I am here today because of my mother. I'm grateful for her mothering. My mom, Bobby Yelland, was the oldest of 3 daughters in a patrician Marin County household. Her grandmother lost her husband on the Titanic, which left her deeply bitter, and she passed that pain on to her daughter, my grandmother, who diffused it down to my mother. My mom was a war bride, then a ranch wife, and eventually bore 8 healthy children. It was a very hard life, what with caring for the crowd of us kids, then going out in the frozen fields to deliver lambs during the harsh Idaho winter nights. Well, it all went bust, and the next venture did too. But she and my dad were able to house and feed us. She went back to school as the kids left home one by one, got her teaching certificate and a master's in library science, which she really didn't use very much. She didn't like working a job. I don't think she liked being a mom much either. Caring for kids and living on the edge of poverty for decades just emotionally wore her out and also left her bitter and disillusioned. But she got lucky at the end. After my dad died, she married an untamed, lusty, kind, and well-off Sicilian. Loved her kids at a bit of a distance and enjoyed a comfortable, happy denouement to a really rocky life. She taught us perseverance. Like it or not, if you're stuck with it, it's yours. Tough it out.
This morning, in preparation for this, I was reading Dr. Heather Cox Richardson's Letters from an American that she writes most nights. And this morning, she mentioned Julia Ward Howe, and she mentioned the history of Mother's Day and how it's not hearts and flowers, but it's the strength and resilience, not just of mothers, but of women everywhere. And while I was very fortunate to have a very good mother, she was an amazing and wonderful woman, and a pretty darn good mother at that. I'd instead like to take some time to thank the women, many of whom would have punched me if I dared to call them mother, but the women I think of as big sisters and friends along the way. The many wonderful women I've had in ensembles, in choirs, in orchestras, in bands, who have taken me under their wing and mothered me, and the women I've known, the many of whom stood up during the HIV/AIDS crisis, the worst dark days of the HIV/AIDS crisis. And so many women, nurses, doctors, and non-professionals who were just there to hold a hand and to give a hug and to be a shoulder and to give love when in so many cases, so many others, including people's own mothers, would not. And I also think of all the incredible women. I want to mention one by name, May Krieger, who was the president of Desert Voices during a very dark day. And she came to me and said, I don't know what we're doing here, but would you be willing to step in and help us save this group? I believe this group is worth saving, and I think you and I together can find a way to do it. And she was the one who, in a moment of gratitude, I tried to say, well, you've been a mother to me. And she said, don't you dare. I said, how about big sister? And she's like, I'm okay with that. So thanks to all the wonderful big sisters I've had, that me, the third of 4 boys, in a very, very testosterone-laden house, as my mother was fond of pointing out at times. Thank you to all the women and wonderful people who have been surrogate mothers and big sisters my entire life.
I'm here because of my mother, Ruth Crary. She is across town right now enjoying a worship service in the church she raised me in. My mother is an artist, only recently with palettes and paints and drawing and charcoal and sketching, but most of her life, my life, she was an artist with service. And she taught me through vocation and passion how you make a wonderful art out of your own life. She began certainly as a stay-at-home mom with that, and then as PTA, and then gradually volunteering in her own way and a vocation in teaching computers that she discovered to children. And it inspired me, it carried me through my own growing up and my own education. It inspired me because she could craft out of her own life art. from many different threads and many different places she would just draw from, and that would become who she was and who she is today. So today, I'm grateful for my mother, Ruth Crary's mothering. Thank you. Thanks. Our final sacred song today is Sleep, My Child. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and share your voices with Joel leading us.
Sleep, my child, and peace attend you all through the night. I who love you shall be near you all through the night. Soft the drowsy hours are creeping, hill and vale in slumber sleeping. I my loving vigil keeping all through the night. Mother, I can feel you near me all through the night. Father, I know you can hear me all through the night. Even when I'm your age nearly, I will remember clearly how you sang and held me dearly all through the night. While the moon her watch is keeping all through the night, while one half the world is sleeping all through the night, even while the sun comes stealing, visions of the day revealing, breeze a pure and holy feeling all through the night.
All right, we know what time it is. Announcements. Woven basket. The woven basket is youth on their own. As you leave our sanctuary for fellowship this morning, you will see a wooden bowl and a woven basket for your financial offering. The bowl is for our congregation, a container for your gifts to support the work of our church. The basket is for the local organization that we select each month to support. It's for youth on their own, supporting the high school graduation and continued success of youth experiencing homelessness here in Tucson and Pima County. All of your great gifts will be greatly appreciated and received. Safety Dave. Is Stacy coming up with this one?
She was going to send it to you, so I guess she did. Let me go ahead.
Okay.
Coming up later this month on the 18th, we are hosting a safety workshop all day. We have a slide for it, which has more information than I have. It is not a slide that we have. Check our newsletter. The person joining us, his name is Safety Dave, and he'll be teaching us from about 10 a.m. to about 4 p.m., and we are including lunch,
about active shooter drills for adults. It's very different than what our children are taught in schools, and very different about our actual environment here. Oh, we do have it. Thank you. Our other announcement is that next month we have a first aid as well as a CPR training that we will be hosting again here on June 29th from 9 to 12 p.m. Now that we actually are inviting people to pay for themselves, but we have scholarships for anyone who would like to take that but doesn't have the funds. Please talk to me or Ms. Stacy, and certainly any questions about that we welcome.
Speaking of Stacy, she's probably not here because I forgot to thank her earlier. She definitely needs the biggest of thanks, as well as Grace, because it's Mother's Day and she's taking care of all the kids right now. So just want to throw that out there. General Assembly is the annual gathering of our Association of Congregations. This year, it'll all be online, as it will be every other year going forward. Our delegates, Steve, Lee, and Ann Leonard, will be fully participating and all learning about all that's coming up for consideration this year. This is a quick reminder from Joel, actually, the one you guys saw singing. Please don't forget to pick up your cowboy boots and kitchen utensils from the April 20th chili cook-off. Joel would greatly appreciate it. So if you have cowboy boots, utensils, all that stuff, grab them, please. One quick little announcement if you like Joel and Grace, and maybe myself, I don't know, we do have a little concert coming up this evening. That's why I'm dressed like this. Just a quick plug for that as well. If you're interested in hearing about it, let me know.
Tucson concert band. There's a whole lot of other people involved here.
All right, The Complexity of Motherhood by Leah Ongiri. On Mother's Day, let us mark how beautiful and complex it can be to mother and be mothered. To those who have mothered, we thank you. To those who rejoice in the work, the role, the presence of mothering and mothers, we celebrate with you. To those who are in thick of parenting children of any age, we appreciate you. To those who experience loss through infertility, abortion, miscarriage, adoption, or running away, we mourn with you. To those who have lost their mothers, we grieve with you. To those who have endured abuse at the hands of their mothers, we acknowledge you. To those who experience pain at the marking of this day, we witness you. To those who are single moms, grandmoms, stepmoms, foster moms, adoptive moms, mentor moms, and spiritual moms, we need you. And to those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. May we leave with gratitude on the wide spectrum of mothering that happens in our lives and in our communities.